Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Songs. Today, we're going to take a look at my 10 favorite tracks from a band I thought I had done before. And lo and behold, I hadn't. It happens. It happens. I've done so many of these shows. Sometimes you think you've covered a band and you get a lot of people asking you like, yeah, sure, I did that last year or 2 years ago, whatever. And then you look back and you're like, shit, I did not. I misspoke. So today we're going to take a look at everyone's favorite progressive rock / pop supergroup, Asia. Okay, who of course had that massive debut album and then that big success kind of got away from them for the rest of their career. You know, they had some success with the second album, but then, lots of lineup changes and, coming and going and reforming, and then you had kind of two bands using the Asian name. It's just it's kind of a crazy history, right? And for some folks, they were a great pop band. But for a lot of people who were really into the kind of pedigree of all the guys who made up the original lineup, I mean, you're talking John Wetton, Carl Palmer, Jeffrey Downs, and Steve Howe. There were a lot of people who were like, what happened to the prog from these guys, right? Too much pop. But got to admit, these guys knew how to write really good pop songs with some proggy embellishments. That's kind of the best thing you can say, right? To describe their music. So I'm going to get it out in the open right off the bat, okay? Just because I am of the opinion that the only album of theirs that I think is truly great is the first album. I find almost all of their other albums, and there's a bunch of them, to be somewhat solid to mediocre to not good at all. They all have some strong tracks, but I don't think any of their albums, I don't think I'm going to get too many people who are going to disagree with this, but I don't think any of their albums really kind of duplicated to the extent that first album did. Magic happened on that first album. Not much, there's some magical moments spread throughout their catalog, but I don't find any of their other albums to be top to bottom anywhere near as close to the greatness of that first album. So you're going to see a lot of tracks from the first album in my top 10 list here. It is what it is. I'm not going to force myself to put in songs just because, anyway, you know what I'm getting at. So let's start off with my number 10. I'll work my way to number 1. So coming in at number 10, we're going to go to the Alpha album, which was their second album, which, again, I remember when that first came out, I was like, cool, another Asia album. Yeah, this is not that good. But a couple good tracks. Open Your Eyes is a very strong tune. Easily one of my favorites from that album. I think it captures some of the spirit of the first album, because some of the other tunes off that second album are kind of, just really kind of almost, I hate to say wishy-washy, but just kind of really, really poppy and lacking any kind of, at least the first album, even though they had all those great pop hooks and memorable melodies and things like that, there was some fire to that album. Not a lot of fire on that second album, all right? But Open Your Eyes, definitely a good one. Number 9, going to go to their kind of reunion album with the original band members, okay, the original four who got back together again after so many years of the Phoenix album. Never Again. That's a pretty spirited tune. Really good, memorable hook to that. Again, I find the rest of that album just kind of lackluster, but that was a really good tune. Really good song. Number 8. Going to go to the Astra album, okay. That's right, the album with the guitar player from Crocus, of all people, right? Of all the guys that could have fit. Nothing wrong with Manny Myers, but, I thought it was a strange choice then. I still do now. The song Go, great, kind of like arena rock anthem. Get up and go. Dun, 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 dun. I wish the rest of the album kind of got up and went like that one. Couple, again, a lot of these albums, a couple good tracks, and a lot of mediocre stuff. Go, for me, has always been the best song off that album. Number 7, going to go back to the Alpha album. By far the best song on the album, and could have been a leftover from the first album, The Heat Goes On. Stinging guitar solos from Steve Howe on that, and again, it's just that to me is the kind of stuff we wanted from Asia. The fiery kind of proggy rock mixed with some pop, but that album just had way too much kind of lush pop and just not enough of the prog grandeur that we really wanted. But that song, and for me, Open Your Eyes, that's the kind of that to me, those are the two really, really strong tracks from that album. The rest of it doesn't really do a hell of a lot for me. Although there's another song that's not too bad, which I'll mention at the end. All right, so where did I leave off? So number 6, debut album, Only Time Will Tell. Ultra memorable. I still can listen to the first album and be like, yeah, this album's great for a reason, right? Only Time Will Tell, number 6. Number 5, how about Wildest Dreams? Wildest Dreams. Great melodies. Great song. Number 4, Time Again. Time and Time Again. Great song. Killer Steve Howe, Jeff Downes, guitar and keyboard work on this. Steady drumming through the whole album. But man, John Wetton, telling you, great stuff. Let's see. Number 3, Heat of the Moment. A classic early 80s radio tune. Classic. It's just so memorable. I mean, God, that was played on the radio constantly. It's still a great song. It's just so damn catchy. I mean, who would have thought that these like prog rock veterans could put together a song like that would climb to the top of the charts and have like an entire universe in the palm of its hand during that year when it came out? I would have never predicted it. Great song, great album. Number 2, we're going to continue on the trend from the first album. Cutting It Fine. The sleeper song on that album that nobody ever talks about. I absolutely love Cutting It Fine. It kind of, the back end of the first Asia album, the self-titled album, doesn't get a lot of love because most of the hits are on the front half, the first side of the vinyl. But Cutting It Fine for me was, again, personified what those guys could do together. Again, because that first album, it satisfied, for most proggers, it satisfied that itch for what you were expecting, but it also had some great, like I said, hooks and melodies that went beyond the scope of prog rock fans. But that tune, Cutting It Fine, that was for all the Yes and King Crimson fans and whatnot, right? So, an ELP. Let's see. My number 1, always my favorite song off the first self-titled album, I Am the Soul Survivor. Just awesome song. It's kind of dramatic, still memorable too. Great Steve Howe guitar work on that. Just dig it. Really, really dig it. So there you have my top 10. How about a couple honorable mentions? I do want to throw out, even though I think it's a good pop track, and I believe it was the first single they released. But Don't Cry from Alpha. It's got a good hook to it. Yeah, I kind of dig it. Right. Tomorrow the World from the XXX album, their 13th studio album. That's a good track. From the John Payne era, you know what? I don't dislike the John Payne era. I just don't find a lot of that stuff very memorable. The Silent Nation album is pretty decent. I like the title track, so I'm going to throw that in here. And then I do want to throw another Astra track. Voice of America is actually, that to me, Voice of America truly has the feel of that first album, and even to an extent the second album, even though by then stuff was already starting to change within the band. And so, a lot of albums, and I realized that I'm not covering a lot of albums here, but that's for a reason. I've heard all these albums. I have most of them. I find a lot of the Asia catalog just kind of forgettable. That first album is classic. Second album has a couple really good tunes. The third album has a couple good tunes, and there's some sporadic songs from throughout the catalog that are solid. But man, on the whole, I just find most of their catalog just kind of flat. All right, a band that I think it's almost like they kind of blew their wad on the first album, and then they had nothing left for the rest. It's like there is good material throughout the catalog. I just don't find a lot of great material throughout the rest of the catalog. That's the thing. So, but good songs sprinkled throughout. You're going to find some solid stuff through these albums. I just don't, if I'm going to put together my 10 favorite tracks, it's like, it goes back to the beginning. It's like one of those bands for me. So anyway, You know how it goes, guys. List your top 10, your top 5, whatever, in the comments below. No right or wrong answers here. We all hear these differently. I'm sure there's plenty of you who are going to pull all sorts of stuff from the latter part of the catalog, and that's cool. If you really, really dig that stuff, I don't hate it, all right? I just, man, when I think of Asia, man, it's those like first 2 or 3 albums. That's it. So visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. We'll see you guys tomorrow with more favorite album of the year for 1997. And this weekend, all sorts of good stuff coming at you. So stay tuned. And also, I'm going to get to, I know I'm like a week late on it, or weeks late, my favorite vocalist of all time episode. I still haven't really decided how I'm going to do it. I think I'm just going to rampage through my list. I'm not going to add any more to the list. I'm just going to give you what I got and just go with it. I think that's what I'm going to do. So that's coming up too. So we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.